MPs here in the UK are calling for women who are going through the menopause to be given greater rights and protections at work. They claim a lack of support is forcing women, who are generally between the ages of 45 and 55, when they stop having periods, out of the workforce, and want to protect women legally from being discriminated against. Well, a report by the committee has found that in the UK alone, there are around 4.5 million women employed who are aged between 50 and 64 and are therefore likely experiencing menopause. They say women with at least one problematic menopausal symptom, which can include anxiety, sleep loss and heart palpitations, are 43% more likely to leave their jobs by the age of 55. Menopause isn't the only health issue that affects women at work. A 2019 study in the Netherlands found roughly 4,500 women, or 13.8% of the total number surveyed, reported missing school or work while they were on their period. The study found that even if women went to work in pain, this amounted to the equivalent of 9 days of lost productivity per person each year. Well, I'm joined now by Clare Knox, a business psychologist specialising in women's health at work. She's the founder and director of See Her Thrive, an organisation aimed at creating more inclusive workplaces and ending the stigma against women's reproductive issues. Thank you very much, Clare, for joining us here on the programme. I mean, the fact remains there is so much stigma, even about talking about menopause and then, you know, greater other issues like having your period, for example.
Absolutely, yes. These issues are still shrouded in a lot of stigma, and little by little it is changing. And as more employers are waking up to these issues and embracing them to be more inclusive, that stigma is starting to disappear, because these are very, very natural, normal experiences that that people with a menstrual cycle and people going through the menopause will experience.
Yeah, and yet, you know, for as long as I can remember, and even my mother's generation, it's something that is taboo to talk about, to deal with, and women, as we're seeing from these stats, quietly walk away from their careers, their jobs, rather than being able to talk to their employers about it.
Yes, sadly, that is the reality for many, many women. We hear from women who, because of the loss of confidence they experience, because of the impact of symptoms, because we don't yet have the level of awareness and support we need in workplaces, they feel like they have no other choice but to reduce their hours or leave the workforce altogether. And we're talking about really talented, highly skilled role models who, you know, we need these women in our organizations. We need them leading our organizations. It's no surprise we've got such a big gender gap in the workplace, and menopause and menstrual health is a huge part of that.
Yeah, I mean, because at every twist and turn, I mean, whether it's a woman choosing to have a baby, for example, and finding they have to step away from the workplace at a certain period in their career, and then whether it's later on, whether they're in a more senior role, they're again finding themselves having to walk away. So this Women and Equalities Committee calling to make menopause a more protective characteristic is clearly a step in the right direction. But will the infrastructure in companies be put in place, small and large, to ensure that women are protected and they can talk about it?
I mean, we would certainly encourage employers to take note of this evidence and what has come out both last week in the new women's health strategy for England, and now this latest report. If employers do take this on board and bring this into their diversity and inclusion and well-being work, we would hope that, yes, the infrastructure will be there, but that really does rely on people taking this and actually, you know, taking action, doing something about it. And that's going to look different for each organisation. But what we would strongly recommend, based on what works well, is things like manager training. In fact, ensuring all staff are trained in menopause so they know about symptoms, they understand the impact that symptoms can have on people at work. They know where to seek help if it's something that they are experiencing themselves, and also how to be supportive colleagues and line managers. And
Yeah, I mean, because it's a complete cultural shift and change, I think, you know, for women as well as everyone else in the workplace.
it is, and arguably we haven't really had to have these conversations before because we've never had as many women and people going through the menopause in the workforce as we do now. And certainly, you know, in the past we wouldn't have had women in senior positions, for example. And so now is the time where we need to be talking about these things. We need to be taking action and addressing these issues, or these problems are just going to perpetuate.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, it's not just an issue of menopause. It's going, you know, decades earlier, and young women coming into the workforce who were on their period, for example, even at school, being able to have the flexibility to be able to talk about it and take time off if they need to.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a 36-year-old woman. I'm now perimenopausal, and I also have a cyclical condition called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, as do 1 in 20 people who have periods. And it's thought that around a third of females in the UK are living with some kind of menstrual or reproductive health issue. So these things extend beyond menopause, and what I would love is for this to be the start of a much broader conversation. And with regards to the Equality Act and extending that, let's include menopause and menstrual health conditions, because the discrimination we see also affects people who have cyclical health conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Claire, thank you so much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you.